Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Katrina and this is Katrina Reads. I've been tagged by AJ Dunn Reads and Writes in the bar and the bookcase tag. The tag was created by Jalen at the bar and the bookcase. So with this tag, the questions are drinks and the drinks compared to a genre. So the first one being an old-fashioned historical fiction recommendation. So I'm recommending a book called Speaks the Nightbird. Speaks the Nightbird is book 1 in a historical fiction mystery series. There's a young professional problem solver, I guess PI or like off the books kind of mystery solver, didn't have a name yet, so he called himself a problem solver in the American colonies at the turn of the 18th century. Okay, the Carolinas, 1699. The citizens of Fount Royal believe a witch has cursed their town with inexplicable tragedies, and they demand that a beautiful widow, Rachel Howarth, be tried and executed for witchcraft. Presiding over the trial is a traveling magistrate, Isaac Woodward, aided by his astute young clerk, Matthew Corbett. Believing in Rachel's innocence, Matthew will soon confront the true evil at Fount Royal. And then he goes on to do similar things in the further books. And also, what made this so good too is listening to it on audio. The narrator of this series is really good as well. But anyway, I suggest Speaks the Nightbird by Robert R. McCammon, book number 1 in the Matthew Corbett series. Prompt number 2 was Sidecar, book with strong supporting character, and I would say Midnight Crossing by Charlaine Harris. The strong supporting characters is multiple characters, and it's the town of, I love towns and I love friendship groups, outsider friendship groups, and Midnight is a small little Texas town that all of these people who are outcast even of their own groups, they're superstitious, they're supernatural, and they're kind of outcasts of their own groups. Like, they don't, there's people who we don't even know what they are. There's vampires, there's everything, and they're kind of, they don't even belong. They don't even belong in things that would normally have a group, or like covens of witches or a nest of vampires. They don't even belong, and they all kind of come together. And so there is a main character, kind of, who is a psychic who comes into the town, but he's new in the town, so he's our entry point to the town. But so I don't know if I would call him the side character or if I would call the town the side character, but because there's so many different amazing side characters, supporting characters, I think that Midnight by Charlaine Harris fits in this. The next prompt is Manhattan, and that is a book set in New York, and that would be The Magicians. I love that book series, and it is, even though the drink is in Manhattan, the series takes place. Initially they're in New York City, but the school break bills is up in upper state New York. The next prompt is A Bloody Mary, one of my favorite drinks. A book that scared you or messed you up. So I have two. The latest book that scared me was The Twisted Ones. I'm not normally scared by books. I'm intrigued by books, but The Twisted Ones gave me an actual physical chill, and that was new. That was different. It was such a good book. It's by T. Kingfisher, a new author that I think I discovered this year or at the end of last year, and I've totally enjoyed the last 2-3 books that I've read by her. And then messed me up, I would say The Bluest Eye. When I finished reading that for the second time, first time as an adult, I just sat down, closed the book and sat there and cried for 45 minutes, like just bawled my eyes out. And then because I'm doing a project on Toni Morrison books, I looked up some interviews by her, and she talks about, she was a professor, a teacher, professor, an editor, and then she started writing, and she was like, "Oh, I was just writing for myself. I was writing what I wanted to read." And I'm like, Tony, are you okay? This is what you wanted to read? Like, you wrote the book. Like, she took that advice of writing the book that you want to read, and I'm just like, you wanted to read this trauma? Okay, that book messed me up. The next prompt is Espresso Martini, which sounds so yummy. A book that kept you reading into the night. And I would say it was all the Twilight books. I tore those books up every time they came out. I would read them. We stood in line, grown women, married. We stood in line, and at midnight when those books came out, got them, and I would read them through the night. I was completely addicted. Ain't no shame in my game. I enjoyed that fandom so much. I don't remember any negativity coming from it, except for people from the outside who thought it was a silly thing. And it's like, yeah, of course you think something that girls like is silly, but it was pure. It was a pure fandom. It was exciting. The movies were exciting. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, the book series, staying up to wait for the books to come out, staying up to get midnight showings of the movies, all that stuff took my sleep. I was a working mother, and I would read through the night and still have to get up and go to work the next day. So that was fun. The next prompt is Sazerac. I have no idea if I'm saying that right. Sazerac. A book that left you disoriented. That's Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. That was it was a really weird. And this might be a spoiler, so I'm gonna say spoiler alert for Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I could see it from the beginning, but some people wrote in their reviews that they thought that was a spoiler, and I didn't realize that I could see that it didn't keep me from enjoying the book, but it was a multi-verse book, and it was like lots of science. This guy was, he was he was a teacher, he was a husband and a father, and he comes out of, I think, school one day, and then he out of work, and he's kidnapped, and he wakes up somewhere totally different, and he has to go through all of these shenanigans. Shenanigans is a bad word for it, 'cause it's a pretty serious book, and it's kind of heady. But Blake Crouch is really cool with stuff like that. He did Recursion and Wayward Pines, and Wayward Pines was mind blowing too. I would say all three of those fit in books that left you disoriented. They were really good and very surprising. And you're just like, whoa, wait a minute! Lots of make you think. Lots of scientific stuff. Speculative, really entertaining speculative stuff. Not speculative that's so far out that I can't even be fit to be bothered, or speculative stuff that's so unfamiliar, or because like at the heart of Dark Matter, this character is trying to get back to his wife. Through all of this science stuff, through all of this multiverse stuff, he's trying to get back to his wife and son. So at the heart of it, it's rooted in a human story. And Long Island Iced Tea, book that is doing too much. They say bonus points if it works anyway. This book did not work, so I don't get the bonus points. But, well, I'm going to do two books. One book, I'm going to say The Lies She Told by Kate Houlihan. That book was it was so convoluted. It was too convoluted. I think I talked about it in a wrap up. Maybe I don't know if I did. I think I talked about it in a wrap up. But I had DNF'd so many books. I was in such a slump that I didn't want to DNF another book, and I kind of did want to know, like, after putting me through all of this, let me find out what is going on at the end of this book. I put it on 3 times speed so I can rush through to the end, and it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. It was too, like, for no reason, for absolutely no reason. And then another book that had too much going on, and I don't know if it works, because at this point, or at that point, I was in love with the world. I was invested in the world. So this is a Dance of Dragons, which is the last book that George R.R. Martin released in a Song of Ice and Fire series. That was a novel, not like he did compendiums and things like that. But there was just, he did, like, all of a sudden, wasn't it Dance of Dragons? Like, all of a sudden there's whole new things. Part of why I don't want to get frustrated with him, George R.R. Martin is a sore spot for me a little bit, just because I hate what Dan and Dave did to the show. So I went more over to wanting to, like, looking to George R.R. Martin to be our savior and, like, finish the series so we can have a better ending. But more and more, I think we're not going to get the last 2 books. And part of where that started to kind of go off the rails was this last book, where whole new characters and locations and in this already huge world was beginning to be added, and you're just like, whoa.
Ho, brother, whoa. Now you got too much dip on your chip.
You know, where are we going? Like, why are these whole new characters being added to this book? Not just whole new characters, like whole new locations. We did have a murder mystery of sorts start up at Winterfell, and Wyman Manley and Little Bear made 2 of my favorite, like, they had one of my favorite scenes, my favorite speeches, badass. But other than that, I think that book did too much in the negative. I was thinking that would be one that worked, but I'm thinking that Dance of Dragons did too much, and it was in the bad. And the only thing that was coloring it is the fact that as I'm talking my way through it, through the thought process, I think it's bad because we spent, like, it's a huge book, and we spent so much time in a place that most people don't like, or from my understanding, I don't think, well, maybe not, I don't know, I don't think a lot of people liked being in Essos versus being in Westeros. And then we add on the Fagon thing. Okay, so is that true or real or not? What's the purpose of that? Dany already has enough, there's enough, what's the word I'm looking for? She has enough not friction, but she has enough issues that she's coming into to fight for the Seven Kingdoms. She doesn't need Fagon, whether or not, we don't need a fake brother. We have Stannis' army still sitting outside of Winterfell. There's all these open-ended things. There's so much going on, and it may be the last book that we ever get. And it's distressing. Negroni, book with a love triangle. I'm gonna say Outlander, because Claire was married, and then she goes back in time, she's drawn back in time, and kind of like against her will, she's married off to someone else, falls in love, and then has the conflict of, there was nothing wrong with the person who she was married with before. She was in love with the person that she was married to before she was taken back in time. She just was more in love with the person she fell in love with back in time. So, and then, spoilers for the Outlander series, there is, she does come back in contact, with, she goes back and forth in time, and so she does come back in contact with her husband in the more in 1940s, and there's conflict and stuff there, but it's still a love triangle, and I think in one of the more truer forms, because there's nothing wrong with those two marriages. It's just life just decided, the world, the universe just decided to drag Claire all around everywhere, all around the timeline. And there's these men who love her and are very decent men. There's nothing wrong with them. And she loves them. It's just there's somebody who she, ends up loving more. Bay Breeze. I've never heard of that drink, but book with light, chill, heartwarming vibes. And I'm going to say Get a Life, Chloe Brown. And in an extension, the entire trilogy of the Brown sisters. It's a romance series where there's all three sisters are dark skinned, I'm thinking. On the cover, they're dark skinned. They're all fat. I think they're all neurodivergent. No, one sister, I think the first sister is chronically ill. And then the last two are neurodivergent, I believe. And then the men, they're all interracial romances. All the men are giant, cinnamon buns, cinnamon rolls, teddy bears, very hot, steamy sex scenes, lots of banter back and forth, lots of tropes that we love. Fake dating was in the first one. The last one that I'm reading right now is enemies to lovers, and I'm trying to remember what the middle one was. What was the trope? But they have just all been airy and light and delightful. The next prompt and drink that I've never heard of is called The Dark and Stormy. Book that's dark, thrilling, and menacing. Bonus points if the setting matches. And I get bonus points for this one because it's the book called No Exit by Heart Taylor Adams. This book is, so there's a lady who is on her way home for a funeral, I believe, or she has a sick parent that she's rushing to get to, who is on the deathbed, but she gets caught in a snowstorm in Colorado, and in like the Colorado mountains. Then she has to get off the road. She goes to this rest stop, and I think there's like 6 or 7 people in the rest stop, all kind of waiting out the storm. She has to go back out to her car to get something, and when she goes out into the parking lot, one of the cars has a child in a cage in the back of the car. So then she has to come back into the rest stop, looking at everybody like, who could be the person who is caging a child outside? Now, let me tell you, I've had many experiences with books, but I don't think I have ever had the racing heart, like almost having a panic attack, my heart beating like I did in this book, like you have in a TV show. It was so good. It was such a quick, mysterious, literally dark and stormy, wild ride. Oh my gosh, it was so good. It was so good. So Martini is the last prompt, and that one is a classic recommendation. And I would recommend Their Eyes Are Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. Their Eyes Are Watching God is about a woman, I think she's like in the 1920s in Florida, and she's a black woman, and she is looking for love, and that's like kind of her main thing is kind of to find love, and she keeps kind of hopping along until she finds it, and she's, no matter how much she's judged about it or anything like that. And there's some other commentary on beauty and I think colorism maybe, And I think it's a pretty short book, read it a long time ago, but it's a classic that I don't hear people talking about that much. That's the end of the tag. Thank you, AJ Dunn Reads and Writes, for tagging me in this. This was a fun and unique tag once again. And if you made it with me to the end of this video, let's leave a drink in the drink emoji. I'm gonna have to look for one myself. I don't know if I've ever seen one. Please like and subscribe. Ring that bell so that if you like what you see here, that you will be updated when I upload. Be easy on yourself, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.